Hi, I'm Nina from Avid Property Group and welcome to another episode of Avid Engage. Today we're in this stunning Newport 41 Fairhaven Homes display home and I'm joined by St John Ambulance Victoria.
Hi, I'm Marge. I'm the Community Development and Engagement Officer at St John and we are so excited to be working with Avid in order to bring you some of these life-saving tips and tricks.
Hi everyone, we're here to talk about snake bites. What to do if somebody gets a snake bite, how to manage them. If somebody has a snake bite, you could get that in the backyard, could be when you're out on a hike, could be anywhere. We need to know what to do though. So, first things first, we need to follow the action plan, the DRS ABCD. When we're checking for dangers, we're making sure the snake has left the area, we're making sure that it is safe for our poor person with that snake bite. When we check to see if our person is responsive, if their eyes are open and they can talk to us, we can get information from them, like where their snake bite is. However, if they're unresponsive, so lying on the ground, not moving, we might need to look a bit harder, so we're going to squeeze the shoulders. Look for a response there. If they don't respond, we need to consider them as unconscious and we need to keep moving through that action plan. And the next step in the action plan is to send for help. And that means calling 000. Once we've called 000, we know help is on the way. We can go back to our casualty and keep looking after them. So the next step in the action plan is to check the airway. Are the airways clear and open? Then we can check the breathing. Are they breathing? Once we know they're breathing, we can then manage the snake bite. However, if they're not breathing, we may need to keep moving through the action plan and we may need to do CPR. So you've got your person's come up to you and said they've got a snake bite. First step with them is to get them lying down flat on the ground. Have a look around, make sure the area is safe. Don't try and catch the snake. Leave that for somebody else that knows what they're doing. Once you've identified where the snake bite is, that limb, usually we get bitten on the ankles or the wrists. We want to keep that limb perfectly still as much as possible. Why it's important to keep that limb still is because when the snakes bite, we've got that venom in the lymphatic system and lymph moves around our body by muscle movement. So every time we move, we're moving that venom around the body. So where that bite site is, it could look like 2 puncture wounds, it could look like a scratch. We're going to leave it where it is. We're not going to clean that wound out. We're going to leave it as it is. So why don't we want to wash that wound out? There may not be venom there, but if there is, the doctors need to find it. If you have one, you're going to use a snake bite bandage. This is a wide elasticated bandage with markings on it. The markings on a snake bite bandage are either a zigzag lined or a rectangle. And when we stretch that bandage out, that zigzag line will become a straight line, or those rectangles will become squares. That means we've applied enough pressure to immobilise the lymphatic system. If you don't have a snakebite bandage, you can use the brown wide elastic bandage in your first aid kit. So your snakebite bandage and your wide elastic bandage are the best ones to use, but if you don't have those available, you can use whatever you've got. That could be the crepe bandage, it could be clothing. We don't want to be using a tourniquet though. So when we do our bandaging, we bandage the bite site first, straight over the bite site. If there is any venom there, we want to catch that in under that first bandage. Once we've got that covered, we're going to do our second bandage, which is our immobilising bandage. That's the one that's going to immobilise the lymphatic system. We're going to start that from the fingertips, so just below the fingernails. We're going to work our way up the arm so the full arm is covered in the bandage. We want to go all the way up to the glands in the armpit. Now that's only if I've got a snake bite on my arm. If I've got a snake bite on my leg, I'm going to bandage my leg. If I do have a snake bite on my ankle or my leg, I'm going to start just below the toes for the bandaging and work my way all the way up the leg to the glands in the groin. So how tight do we put that bandaging on? Well, we've already talked about our snake bite bandage to make those rectangles turn into squares, but if I'm using my brown elastic bandage, I want to do it so tight that I can't fit my finger underneath the bandage. So firm and tight. Once we've got that bandaging on and the limb is splintered, we want to keep this person still and calm. and we're going to stay with them until help arrives. By staying calm, we're looking after our person as the best that we can. We'll stay there till help arrives. And remember, you can always visit St John Ambulance Victoria website for tips and training.